Yeah, I have a bunch of questions, so maybe I'll just ask my first one. But I'm really interested in the way in which we become aware of choices that are always available to us that are otherwise obscured by our habits or by limitations of imagination. Yeah, I just wondered if you could speak to that.
Yeah. Seems to me that the two really nice, simple steps. One is the question that was just asked. Right? So one goes to reawakening our receptivity. Right? And in the context of reawakening, of course, the practices of reawakening also become the practices of kind of expanding and attuning. And so we're not just polishing and cleaning the lens, we're actually now beginning to expand. Right? So one piece of that. There's a whole set of practices along those lines, many of which are ameliorative, repair, heal. And then as we move past the ameliorative, we begin to expand into the capacity building. The other piece would have to do with habits, bad habits and good habits. As I said, we've sort of been loaded with an enormous, and it's truly astounding, the enormity of the bad habits we've been loaded with for a wide variety of reasons, right? If you just think about let's take a visual metaphor of a still pond, which is, say, humanness, naturalness. And then let's say that the agricultural revolution is a dropping of a meteorite out of space into that still pond, creating enormous upwellings and shifts and ripples. But of course, the meteorite broke up in space and they keep peppering down. And all the waves that come out, they bring more energy in. So the past, 50,000 years has been an extremely intense disruption of naturalness and has built layer after layer after layer of bad habit, which trauma, bad habit, same notion. So a lot of work to be done. And here's a simple example. I experienced this all the live long day. It's really amazing. I'll notice something comes up in my sensing, some notion, like, think of a very simple example. I'll make it a sort of a banal example. Did I turn off the gas on the stove, like 1950s, And then some part of my mind will shut down that noticing and it'll just disappear. And I'll go on with my life. And then I'll have made some significant error. In this case, I burned down the house. As opposed to a habit of slowness, right? Just a general habit of spaciousness, a habit of literally learning how to remove the busyness that has been so deeply encoded into our interior and exterior environment that gives spaciousness to the wholeness of ourself. So when these things come up, we don't actually shut them up, right? We don't say, hey, stop that. I got to stay focused because things are crazy. But actually, okay, use subtle notions and sensings. There's something honorable happening here. How do I be able to listen? Right? But the habit is the habit of slowness, the habit of spaciousness, which is not at all easy, right? By the way, this may not be obvious, but when I say habit and I say we, the notion of we for me is expansive. And so, like all of humanity is we, and also a particular population in a city is we, and also my body is we, right? So the habit of busyness that is modern civilization is a habit that we have. Does that make sense? So I'm shifting the notion of like society and structure to the notion of people and habits. Right? And we generate, my habit of busyness creates a ripple effect that produces an implication of your habit of noise, your experience of noise. If I'm busy, if I produce an irresponsible set of expressions into the environment, one of the consequences is I'm now generating ripples in everybody else's experience. And then if you are receiving those ripples in a way that causes you to come off of your equilibrium and your sovereignty, and you begin to now produce reactive ripples back into the environment. We are creating this space of noise and busyness that moves us out of spaciousness. So there's a question or challenge of how do we go about building better habits is, of course, as above, so below. It's a fractal continuum from the microcosmos of the interior of the soul to the macrocosmos of the full limits of the human family.
Any follow-up thoughts or shares, Laura?
Yeah, just thank you. I really like this sense of the kind of communal habit world that we've created, the kind of and the dynamics that we perpetuate with one another. That feels very true to me. I guess as you were speaking, I was just wondering, given the immensity of the situation, given the like long ancestral chains of these kind of habits of trauma or capitalism or whatever it is, how do you not get overwhelmed or feel some kind of despair? Like where is the root of your hopefulness or your sense of possibility for us to be otherwise?
I would actually say it slightly differently. I do get overwhelmed and I feel despair. So the question is more like, how do you come back? How do you step back into the game, which is to say, how do you reconnect with love as a basis of choice? And then once again, every breath, every moment, every day, from my experience, it's like gaps or sunny days in a cloudy, sunshine in a cloudy day. That there are periods of time where, how would I say? Let's go with despair, or ultimately something like fear and sadness are the dominant tone. And then there are times when love is the dominant tone. So the question is, how does one come back? And you breathe back in and settle and go, okay, yeah, this is a rough thing. 3-year-olds or 3-year-olds are helpful. Kids are real helpful. A kid feels. She falls, it hurts. She really cries. And then she stops because she's, the emotion has happened, it's passed and it's gone, right? One of the bad habits we have is we hold, right? We try to control the emotional state, and in so doing, don't actually allow the process of being able to reestablish baseline reality. So that's one. Really feel it. Just allow yourself to feel. Don't be attached to the feelings. Let the feelings flow through. Notice that they're telling you something real about reality, and also don't imply other things, for example. By the way, again, this is not, I'm not up here speaking down. We're in the middle of it. Like a lesson my wife was reminding me of literally yesterday, and probably will again in about an hour. So that's one. What is the other? Oh, and then building capacity. There is a sense of being able to remember. I think remembering and honoring the reality that learning has actually happened. It's very helpful for me, at least. Oh man, oh boy, this feels like it's never going to work. Right? This just failure in every direction, absolute impossibility. Oh wait, there actually has been like progress. There's capacity building, learning. The one who is here now would be experienced by the one who was here 5 years ago as having built greater virtue, greater capacity, greater wisdom, more ability to be, more sovereignty. And so that reminding of, oh yeah, okay, forgiving self for not being perfect and reminding self that self is actually growing, for me at least, ends up being very basic, like very much at the bottom of how to continue to just sort of be on the path. Can I put one more? My I would say friend, but certainly an individual who I respect, Tyson Yunkaporta, has many times mentioned the necessity of thinking in long terms. I think he says 1,000 generations. It kind of takes a little bit of the load off. We're not here to fix the problem. There's no way that's going to happen. We're here to move in the right direction. And the more we can move in the right direction, the better. But and by the way, the other side of it is where we realize that you're going to die and the world is still going to be a serious mess. And we're definitely planting trees that we will never sit in the shade of. Okay, that's what's happening.